Good. The microphone still works. Just a little too much purple, a little too much pink back there. I want to make it a little more purplish. What is up, everybody? This is Jay, aka MultimediaJay, here very early on a Friday night. On a Friday night, playing around with stuff as usual, right? Hey, well, you know, I mean, there is a pretty nice subwoofer in this system. Things rattle and stuff moves around all over the place. And I click stuff that I don't like that. And I spend too much time away from streaming, and I gotta move the aftershave and all the other crap that's on my desk, because who wants to be staring at Brute in the middle of or this stack of DVDs has been there forever. So, yeah, it's Friday night. What the heck am I doing? What I'm doing is I'm just coming in here with a how things are going chat stream, and then I'm gonna head off to work on some videos, because fortunately I forgot my chair kind of hides it. Oh, the feather duster's still there from when I was trying to block out the sunlight earlier. Whatever. We're coming up on the end of September 2021. So 2021 is like 3/4 over, as much as that's hard to believe. And relative to what I wanted to do this year, this channel and its related channels elsewhere on platforms like Twitch have gotten nowhere near as far as I wanted it to, as any of them to get. I'm also getting involved on some new platforms. Still not gonna talk about that just yet. I want to see if this platform's a dud, and I don't want to stay involved. But there's another platform out there that's very different that I want to get involved with. So I still haven't even gotten around to setting that up. To put it nicely, and it's probably going to get me demonetized, my free time in 2021 has been nothing short of murdered. And I think it's about time you folks knew why. I've dropped hints about this earlier on. But before we get to that, let's talk about the music and why I'm using Streambeat Synthwave this year. I originally went with Streambeat Synthwave to have a unified set of music for YouTube and Twitch, because I had gotten Twitch affiliate before the end of the year, which unlocks upload capability and stuff like that. So I was like, yeah, let's just set up, send a few uploads over there and see if they ever get any views. And then Twitch has just underwhelmed and disappointed all year long. The latest being the technical issues with the hate raids, which are basically hate botters, actually. It's a technical shortcoming of the platform. But part of the problems with the hate botters is that Twitch ultimately is responsible for the experience its creators get because of the design of the website or the app or anything else that's used that Twitch people use for what it is that they do. And let's also not forget to talk about the technical shortcomings that are starting to rear their heads on Twitch, such as the 6,000 max bitrate for 1080p 60, when one of the longest running thing, I mean, you can manually dial in about 8,500 bits per 8,500 for a bitrate and not get booted off due to an unstable connection. But over on YouTube, because YouTube supports 4K streaming over here, you can have an upload bandwidth, if you can support it with your internet connection, of up to 55,000. So 6,000 on Twitch, because YouTube supports, I don't think anybody really needs 55,000 up for a YouTube stream, especially if they're only at 1080p. But the recommendations, I believe, are up to like, what, 55 grand or something? The ceiling is way higher. And who's going to want to, well, there's a question like who's going to stream in 4K. People with the technology to stream in 4K are going to stream in 4K, and it's going to get transcoded down for everybody else that's still at 1080 or 720 or even 480 or something if they're out in DSL country somewhere. So what little of it is left in the rural areas. Well, the place I came from had nothing but DSL or cable, so I don't know. But I think the cable could still be pretty good. The cable's been upgraded. DSL. Yeah, right. Obsolete. So yeah, that's the situation here. So my choices of music for Streambeats was originally because of some kind of unified sending things to Twitch and back, things like that. But YouTube has just worked on the platform more and more, and Twitch has just done what it has done. As, let's face it, Twitch is an underdog. They're acting like an underdog company. They're putting in effort and they're trying to improve things, but the things they're trying to improve are not as exciting as some of the things they could improve. Even their answer to DMCA with that deal that they're signing with the NMPA and stuff. It's cool somewhat, but there's just as many drawbacks as there are good stuff, just as many downs as there are ups. Actually, Virtual Legality with the Hogue folks actually did a good job finding all the downsides, especially from a DMCA perspective, with the new agreement and stuff like that. But the bottom line is it's a peacock move. What is it? When managers peacock in the world of business, they're trying to look like they're doing something. And there's usually a good reason for that. Whether they have a superior that doesn't like the way they've been running things, they're trying to improve things for their performance review, they have ticked off customers, blah, blah, blah. You will often see managers in various business settings peacocking, going around with little peacock projects to get some, farm for attaboys from people. So, yeah, you're doing that. That's good. That's good for our KPIs and all that other corporate mumbo jumbo. The truth of the matter is, though, it's very often for, positive attention, even if, there could be other stuff put to better use. So the projects that Twitch has worked on, I very much consider to be peacock projects, because when you get under the hood and look at the nitty gritty, they're not really addressing a lot of some of the biggest problems with the platform. We talked about DMCA with the DMCA deal with the NMPA. That's an opt-in system for NMPA rights holders. But anyone outside that, it's still the old system. It's not a competitor to Content ID. It's not a competitor to YouTube Content ID where across the board, no opt-in necessary. Rights holders have the option of claiming content instead of striking it and making some money off of the deal. Drinks at the ready. So it's just one of those things. And then let's talk about the ad manager. It's just an ad scheduler. You don't have the option to turn off types of advertising such as you do on YouTube. My streams are monetized because of limitations with the monetization system and needing to use this self-declaration thing if you go from unmonetized to monetized. But the video ads will be turned off until after the stream, and then everybody watching after the fact will have to deal with any mid-rolls or whatever that happen to play. So, but all the other types of ads will still show, like little pop-ups and things like that. Not anything that actually cuts out the video. So I also have a setup going with my tech videos, and in particular, and most stuff on my channel that's under an hour long, where the mid-rolls are turned off because YouTube has problems with mid-roll placement. They want to make money, but they're hurting their own viewing experience by inserting the mid-rolls where they do. And even on longer stuff, like a stream replay, the mid-rolls are too clumped together too early in the stream. They're not spread out enough. I thought that when the robots were processing a 3-4 hour stream, they'd spread out the ads a little more, but that doesn't seem to be the case so far. But I can tell you that with shorter stuff, like a half-hour video or a 15-minute video or something, the ads are too crunched together. You know what my biggest problem and my biggest concern is for YouTube, as anybody in the YouTube Partner Program, is that YouTube will work against their smaller creators to make them fall below the thresholds and kick them out of the program. And that's what I've observed this year with the washer and dryer video, which found endless audiences for years, and now all of a sudden they get nothing short of assassinated in terms of views and watch time when it comes to everything they've done this year. So let me see if I have this right. A video I did in 2015 about my new washer and dryer back then magically found audiences until 2021 for some reason. That is suspicious. And what has taken its place? What has taken its place? I had something go viral about playing Forza on the integrated graphics of my Skylake. I had complaints about my George Foreman grill, which are obsolete at this point, and I have to make it a follow-up video, but I'm sure the follow-up video won't get any views. So what's actually going to get views on this platform? Because YouTube's not talking in that direction. They talk in terms of YouTube's algorithms find viewers for videos. No, they find videos for viewers. They don't find viewers for videos. So the question you ask yourself then is, how on earth do I show up in people's recommended panels, especially when people are talking about, stuff like that. And people are being conditioned to essentially watch commercial media and not give little guys a chance. Even the larger channels, by the way, which are commercially run. They're commercial businesses. The so-called YouTuber that you think you're watching has a team working under them. They have resources that real YouTubers don't have and can't have. If you do YouTube the way it sounds like you should do it as a YouTuber, you will persistently be at a disadvantage versus the big channels. in many, many ways. Too many to really talk about in any one discussion. That's YouTube in 2021. And it's sad that there's actually an article on YouTube's official blog about how search recommendation has evolved over the years. I'm going to do a reaction to that at some point, but it's not going to be part of this discussion. Not in the slightest. So we can talk about little bits here and there, but I'm not going to spoil the discussion. I actually want to go after that point by point just to illustrate the problem that YouTube faces in 2021, where, it's the same thing as on Twitch. If you want someone to get involved as a creator on your platform, it needs to feel like they're not wasting their time being there. And in my case, with no channel growth in 2 years and mass abandonment during the lockdowns last year because, oh no, I committed the unpardonable sin of making something besides tech videos, why should anybody do anything? So this is the thing at YouTube and every other platform that does what YouTube does, whatever. Got sick of seeing Joe Schmo in my preview. What YouTube needs to do, they need to distinguish between recreational users and users who want to be more than just recreational users making videos just for their friends to see. People who want to grow an audience should be able to grow an audience. Full stop. We can't have an environment where there's two tiers, like on Dailymotion, with the walling off of the UGC, user-generated content. And how's Dailymotion doing nowadays? We can't have a two-tiered system on YouTube where the people who get the views are all pretty young people with $700 DSLRs making cookie-cutter videos on cookie-cutter channels that are algorithm-friendly. It can't continue. That's not what built YouTube either. YouTube was built by independent folks just grabbing their cameras and filming whatever. It coalesced into what we have today, but there's people out there that are getting tired of the same old mumbo jumbo and YouTube video after YouTube video after YouTube video, calls to action in the same place, in video advertising in the same place, and overall fakeness to how people are on this platform. And I know that it's a parasocial thing, that many, many relationships that you think you have with content creators on these platforms are one way. You watch their stuff, but they know next to nothing about you. But before this became a thing that people complained about on the internet, this was how radio and television worked. People can form one-way attachments to lots of people that inspire them. They just have to know that it's one way and not be surprised when the one-way nature of that attachment shows up somehow. So, but there's so much going on with just the technical side of YouTube that it's worth talking about. It's worth doing chat streams about. It's worth making videos about. And that's why one of the things I'm going to be doing, if you've seen Alpha Gaming or Harris Heller and whatnot, where there's a simple format with an intro and stuff, I want to replace some of these chat streams with direct video, similar to what Devin Nash has been doing, but way shorter. Because with video, I mean, he's using streaming equipment to make videos. Let's be blunt. He still has that kind of streamer mentality where he tends to talk a little too much. But I'd like to see like 15-minute discussion videos, even if I use the streamer gear. 15-minute discussion videos or montage things together or whatnot, to be topical and not related to, chatting like this or, just talking about what's been going on. Chat streams are basically the replacement for vlogging in today's world. Anybody who still vlogs, there's probably some production thing to it, or they're trying to look like a vlog just for the sake of it, or they have bad internet. But in terms of what vlogs are, like daily updates and stuff like that, chat streams cover that. And you can do a PC stream on YouTube without having any subscribers yet. So, just get the account verified, start doing that, and then, you're in business. So, but yeah, YouTube cannot devolve into a two-tiered system, even quietly and unofficially, unlike Dailymotion, which did it officially, where you now have commercial content and user-generated content, and the UGC is walled off and doesn't get any views. So, anyways, let's talk about the elephant in the room, my lack of progress this year. I am not anywhere near where I want to be with literally anything, online or offline, because of stuff that's been going on specifically in 2021. So what happened was, it was a pretty bad winter at the warehouse job last year, and I'm not treated very well. by either the guy in charge or the coworkers. I'm often the pariah as I run this palletizer machine. When it's not running, you got to do things like pick orders with furniture and stuff like that. We had a 150-pound desk sell like hotcakes last Christmas. And even though we use plastic pallets that are more slippery, not like wood pallets or anything, you know, and even though you can use a forklift that raises in the air so you don't have to keep bending down and putting your back into the equation, you can do a lot of sliding things around. I still wound up injuring my back at the start of the year. Turned out after months of medical visits and physical therapy that it was a herniated disc. This is a progressive process that tries simpler responses first and then goes into the heavy duty stuff like MRIs and things along those lines. So I have had more medical appointments this year than ever before, to a large extent. And a lot of the problems with this is because I'm night shift. So if you go to a workers' comp appointment during the day, I found out there's a line item, if it overlaps with your work hours, there's a line item that'll be filled in your paycheck for those hours. So you'll see a line item on your paycheck for workers' comp if you go to those kinds of appointments during the day. But doctors' offices do not operate when my work hours are. So there's been next to none of that, unless I've had a later afternoon appointment that overlapped with the evening's shift. So, yeah, so you're talking about going to appointments and you get reimbursed for travel and stuff. That's all actually state law in my state here in Connecticut. But you get reimbursed for travel and stuff. And if it overlapped with the work hours and stuff like that, you would get paid. But most of my appointments didn't. So that means they cut into my free time. Now, you may think, okay, you have less time. It's not that simple. Many of these doctor places I've gone to have been further away than my usual doctor. So you have more travel, which means to get there on time, you got to spend more time on the road and stuff like that, which means also, I mean, one of the cool things about night shift is, here's the thing with me as, you know, a day shift person, my number one problem with working on days, and this is a problem back when I did the data science stuff a couple of years ago, the more technical stuff I used to do before the company had its big downsizing spree that I saw coming, by the way. Otherwise, it would have been laid off again. But that's one reason I've been a warehouse worker the last couple of years, because I knew from experience that the people doing the support stuff are the ones that are more likely to lose their jobs. Meanwhile, we've had problems with hiring, with labor shortages and stuff like that, because it's not glamorous work. People don't want to do that. And this didn't start with the lockdowns and pandemic unemployment assistance either. It was getting back to just getting out of the recession and getting away from so many people taking whatever job they could get. Move things back to the way it was when I first got involved in this scene, where if you don't mind doing a little good old-fashioned hard work, you can do okay money-wise without having to, you know, run around too much and things where, you know, you just do that and, you know, be very well respected because it's not glamorous work. People don't like doing it, but for the most part. So there tends to be higher turnover, long as you don't end up in a sweatshop, like running around like an Amazon place or something. Oh, you made your goal of 100% with your pick rate this week. Cool. You're 120. You better make 120% next week or whatever it is. So, yeah. So that's the situation that we find ourselves in here. So, yeah, anyways, day shift. Biggest problem I had with being on days is just getting up in the morning, needing the alarm to get up in the morning. Why did I need the alarm to get up in the morning? Especially when it got to the point where I was waking up on my own at 4:30 in the morning without an alarm because I got used to the schedule that much. The reason why is because I hated the idea of getting tired and going to bed at like 7 or 8 o'clock at night. That was my bedtime when I was like 6. So going to bed in the early evening because you want to get 8 hours sleep to get up at 4:30 to go in for a like sunrise shift and stuff that starts around the time the sun comes up. You know, that's something I never really was fond of. It was like being a kid, you know. Mommy wanted you in bed by 8 o'clock. So it's like, so when I got off to college, I obviously went very, very nocturnal. And some of that was because of the way the college was. There were some drunk idiots that would pull fire alarms at midnight if you tried to actually get sleep at night. So I was very nocturnal very quickly, usually up until sunrise. Sound familiar? So I've always been more of a night guy, even though I've worked a lot of day shift years. I just had to find out the hard way that I am a night owl of sorts. And after I found all this out, I found out my dad's that way too. He's retired now, and he's staying up till 1 a.m, like he works my shift. So he's staying up till 1 a.m, like he works my shift now. So he's telling me like, oh, he surprises me sometimes when he shows up on like my Facebook at like midnight. And I'm like, what? Aren't you supposed to be, aren't you supposed to be sleeping? No way. I don't get up until well after sunrise. I did my thing with alarm clocks for 45 years. I am done with them. Yeah, well, one of the fun things about being night shift is that you get out of this mindset of mommy's wagging her finger at you because you're not in bed by 8 o'clock, and it doesn't bother you to get to bed around or before sunrise and just wake up on your own around the time all the normal people are having lunch. So night shift is really, I think I'm a better fit for working at night. Evening anyways, not like graveyard or anything, but I think I'm more of a fit for an evening shift than a morning shift based on the way things have gone. I mean, I thought, because I was night shift during the layoff period in the temp doldrums many years ago, I had a bit of a stigma towards night shifts, but I've come to like it a lot more, and especially with this YouTube stuff as well, because this place being a house, a little one, albeit like a double wide trailer or so in terms of its size. This house, not having neighbors through the walls and having sound tested the place to see how loud I could crank the subwoofer without disturbing the neighbors, not having neighbors through the wall and night shift has been a wonderful combination for this type of stuff. I can stream later in the evening without having to risk a noisy neighborhood because there's a cutoff at like 10 o'clock or so where people will start calling the cops on you if you make too much noise and you're making too much noise outside. So a disturbance or whatever it is. But I'm never going outside. So have fun. And now the air conditioner's out of the window, hopefully for the season. I already said that once before, so I'm not going to jinx things again. I'm not going to assume that I'm actually going to be right this time. But so now the air conditioner's out for the season, things will be quieter for recording videos because I don't have the noise blocker stuff with the camera. So the hum of the air conditioner going all summer, that's going to be done starting with the next video. So yeah, you got the peace and the quiet. You can just work on stuff in the night, in the peace, quiet, or dare I say solitude of being a night shift guy, having some Geek House dark mode lights like this, blue and purple going, turn on some real lights if you need more light. So that's an option for you. It's not a bad setup. And the best part is, under normal circumstances, you don't have to set alarms because you're getting to sleep at a pretty healthy time and getting up at a pretty healthy time. You only want an alarm for if you oversleep. And if you get up, you're constantly getting up before it goes off, you're not being jolted awake by alarms. So with all the extra medical appointments from the back injury and whatnot, I've actually had to set alarms. So I kept hitting that threshold or I had to get up earlier than usual to go to the appointment, then go to work. So setting alarms when I normally don't, getting tired when I normally don't, and all this other stuff just destroyed my free time. So even when it wasn't summertime, when we were running around, we were running around a lot with all the extra stuff that happens at this job during the summer. Still, I had numerous nights where I came home too tired to do anything else except zonk out in front of ESO and maybe a few YouTube videos on screen number 2 while I'm like having characters run around and do dailies or farm or something that I don't really have to pay much attention to. So zonk out in front of ESO or something like that. There's been times outside of the normal time when that's been the sort of thing that the only thing I could do when I got home at night. So now let's also not forget the pandemic. I've been thinking of doing a discussion on this with one of my pandemic rants, as I call them. But COVID-19 is now the deadliest pandemic in U.S. history. The number of deaths from COVID have eclipsed the deaths from the 1918 flu pandemic after World War I. Spanish flu, as it's called, but it's not really the sort of thing these days to go around naming viruses after where they originated from because it might intimidate people from reporting new viruses. So you don't want to do that. You want people to come forward and say, there's a new virus going around, let's respond to it, and not embarrass a country or an area or a region in the process. So But so, whatever, man. What's in this stuff? I left it sitting in the fridge too long while I was drinking soda this week. Whatever. So yeah, here's the thing with the pandemic. Delta is doing something in my neck of the woods. Now, granted, it's Connecticut. Connecticut is one of the best states in the country right now in both vaccinations and controlling the virus. Largely because there's enough vaccinated liberal weenies, if you want to call them that, and some Republicans that have come out that have joined the vaccinated and whatnot. There's enough vaccination coverage around the state to clamp things down. It's not like, say, Florida, where you had, before Delta took off in that state, you had vaccinations clustered in built-up areas. Today, California has some pretty good numbers, too. They're back in play in terms of not being red on the COVID Act Now maps. But the problem with California, as we just saw with the recall election, is that California's vaccination coverage directly parallels who wanted to boot out the governor. So California is incredibly divided. Look on the maps for COVID risk and vaccinations and overlay them with which parts of the state wanted to recall the governor. And you'll find a very divided state where the virus essentially drew the borders of that whole dispute. So California, I don't think, is going to have as successful of results as the Northeast. The media loves California because the media loves a big state finally getting its numbers under control, as opposed to like Florida or Texas with all the problems they've had. But under all of that, though, is just a lack of coverage versus the Northeast, where things are way more vaccinated and way more evenly spread out. And southern New England in particular, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, anywhere there is problems, you pretty much can tell, that place is built up. That's where the anti-vaxxers live. That's the place that's hard right, and they will never take the thing because they think it's a Joe Biden thing, You can look on the maps. You can see a direct parallel to where the coverage is the most even and where this thing's getting stopped in its tracks the most. But that doesn't mean that there isn't activity in the state of Connecticut. There are some towns that are having problems right now. The thing is, being bad in Connecticut is still better than being bad in some of the states that have gotten ripped up by Delta. So even if Connecticut has a full-blown outbreak, the numbers will not be as high because there's too many people that are vaccinated for the numbers to get that high in the first place. And there's enough of them spread out all over the place that the virus doesn't have as many places to go or has more trouble going from place to place in terms of breakthrough infections. But that doesn't mean there aren't exceptions along the way. So we've had at the warehouse job, when it's supposed to be quieting down, a regular rotating cast of outs due to potential exposure or potentially having the virus. And this is the part that the talking heads that talk about the pandemic don't really talk about, is the working Joe side of it all, where you work for an employer that will boot you out on quarantine. If it's not, there are less ethical employers around here that have found reasons to fire people who got COVID so they wouldn't have to have the constant downtime or something like that until, of course, the talent market started drying up a little more. But the way it works is if you're symptomatic, and it doesn't have to be COVID-19, if you're symptomatic with symptoms from the list, you're out on quarantine. And I don't know if there's any way to get an employment for that. And even if there were, would you want to chase the government for how slow they can be processing stuff like unemployment claims and stuff like that? A lot of folks I've known who've been booted out on quarantine have lost at least days of pay to this thing, if not weeks of pay. And if you're a working Joe who just, some people live paycheck to paycheck more than others, that actually can be more, even in the short term, that can still be something that, gets you, as opposed to not thinking it's anything if you're not hospitalized. So because we have some Delta activity around here, and just because Connecticut's highly vaccinated doesn't mean it doesn't pop up among unvaccinated pockets and whatnot, or other places where the virus finds a way to take hold. Just because Connecticut's doing really well versus the rest of the country does not mean that there won't still be problems in various communities and various, I say, friend groups, because how close you are to people who live in a very risky fashion will have a lot to do with what happens. We've had fairs going on, late summer agricultural fairs here in New England. I think the Big E might be still going on in Springfield, Massachusetts, too, but it's a thing every fall, just like everything going pumpkin spice. But, if you're going around without a mask because you're still following the old UK alpha guidance, as lots of people around here have been doing, pretending that Delta has never been a thing, you're putting yourself at risk. It's that simple. And so, with the risky behavior, and it's a matter of choose your friends wisely and don't be in the wrong place at the wrong time around the wrong person. So, there's a rotating cast of outs who are persistently out on quarantine at a time when things should be quieting down. So, between the back injury and all the associated doctor visits and the pandemic and its effects on things, that's why this channel hasn't had anywhere near the content I wanted to make this year. That's one of the reasons why I'm going to redo my channel intro to remove references to 2021, but maintain the Hachi Roku theme music and the Geek House Dark Mode. It'll get a revision and stuff, but it's not going to be, everything with the Wacky World of MultimediaJay will stay the same season. So I am not going to say that, New Roaring Twenties Mulligan. That's the season name for this thing. Let me pop that up there. Actually, no, it's called New Roaring Twenties Mulligan, the season playlist. I am not going to move on from this theme until I have a darn good amount of tech videos in there. So, and then, of course, Quick O Flicks and stuff, and it's been a source of, it's been a thing, too. And also, I called it the new MultimediaJay vlog. And so the topical discussion videos that I've been wanting to do are going to be simpler. Some of them are going to use the streaming gear like what I'm doing right now, but it's not going to be live. It's just going to be to the point video. Simple as that. It's going to be very topical, similar to what Devin Nash is doing. That's one of the things that the channel trailer talks about, and I don't think I've done any of that this year. The discussion about the Twitch affiliate program, I believe, is from the end of last year, if I remember right. So that's the thing. The unfortunate reality, too, with the channel and the way it is right now, is that I have video stuff sitting new in the box. I keep getting caught in this three-way tug-of-war between streaming, game streaming, and videos. So I keep having to switch off between all of them. And because I'm not a streamer and I don't want to be a streamer, I'm not going to be one of those people that tries desperately to shoehorn streams into covering everything I want to cover. There are some things that videos are better at, and there are some things that streams are better at. So I want each format to play to its strengths. There's also some non-video stuff I've been working on. Those of you that follow me on Twitter, you know about the ESO screenshots. Been looking for a home for those things. ESO can look pretty nice, and then I can run the pictures through Picasa. I run the game at maximum right now. We'll see what happens when the NVIDIA DLNA drops with update 32. I'm playing with it on the test realm and really enjoying it. Get the graphics card, the 2060, more involved in making things look nice. Also, one of the things I want to set up the new laptop for, Nerdovo, is to be a stream box for a 2-PC streaming setup using the HDMI capture box. Treat Monolith like a console, and that way there will be zero resource overhead involved in streaming. If I feel the need to do that, I think with ESO, I should do that because I want people to see what I see as much as possible with ESO because I'm playing it at near maximum. And I've noticed with the bit rates and the frame rates and stuff afterwards that there's a bit of a loss due to resource issues while streaming the game while running it at max at 1080-60. The internet will work for the stream. The issue is going to be the bit rate. I just don't want something else going on the computer to get in the way of the stream looking really nice. So that's what we're going to do with that. As far as videos go, I mean, the tech videos are an ongoing story at this point, and they pretty much are what they are, but I want to experiment with some other stuff as well, because I've had some surprises in the last couple of years where things have gone viral. So I just haven't catered to that sort of stuff yet. Maybe a follow-up on the appliances or something like that, or just around the house type stuff. Maybe don't bother with the lights as much if I'm maybe doing something in the kitchen or something like that. But that's YouTube, though. YouTube is very diverse. YouTube is diverse enough that you can pretty much make anything about anything and get an audience. The sizes will be different and whatnot. But once the algorithms actually start passing your stuff around, you'll actually start seeing stuff happening. And that could be months or years after the fact. So knowing that, cater it to be as non-time sensitive as possible. So my discussion about AMD almost going broke several years ago, aged probably the worst out of anything on the channel. But it's still there, you know. Let's face it, AMD fans, AMD's in trouble. Then the Ryzen launched and turned all that around. So that's where we find ourselves with all this. But I will say, though, if you are subbed to this channel and you hate the fact that I do anything besides tinker with computers, unsub. I will do nothing but continue to disappoint you. Guaranteed. Because I know people. I know people and their attitudes. Some of the attitudes I've gotten, particularly from tech video people, remind me of snotty little step cousins and whatnot, or bratty little kids who won't cooperate with you no matter what. I've had step cousins that have been like that. Some of them they're all notably younger than me, so I know what it's like to, you know, mother yelling at her kid and stuff. The kid won't cooperate, being a little brat, should be thrown in timeout or something. Send them to their room or something along those lines. Very, very familiar with that stuff. Some of the attitudes I've gotten from the people that refuse to acknowledge that I exist if I'm not making computer videos, you know, I'm not going to cater to that. I'm just not going to cater to it. So if you hate the fact that I got into streaming, and there's plenty of people who are like that, a lot of them have left. If you hate the fact that I do anything on Twitch, if you hate the fact that I do anything with streaming or anything besides tinker with computers on this channel, unsub. Not like there hasn't been unsubbing going on this year anyways, with the spam bots being cleaned up and some other stuff, and just the inability for this channel to get subscribers anymore. You know, the gradual decline of the channel because I didn't want to run it into the ground doing one thing and one thing only. And for the angry people that are like sitting there with their arms folded because I do something besides tech videos, the numbers on the tech videos have been dropping too. YouTube, there's a lot of silent things to YouTube. Like, don't say the silent part out loud. One of those things with YouTube is that YouTube actually encourages variety channels officially. But I don't know if there's a follow-through in the algorithm for it yet. The channel features and playlists and other stuff and videos being evaluated individually by the algorithm instead of based on the channel that it's on. Something that has been confirmed, by the way, on the Creator Insider channel and stuff like that, fundamentally means you can catalog out your channel any way you want. If anybody complains, point them to all the people that are just watching whatever it is you upload, no matter what it is, that don't say anything, they just watch and enjoy. So, again, you know, the internet's good at creating vocal minorities. People that think that everybody else thinks just like them, and they're mad all the time. So, I mean, you better change what you do because everyone else is just as mad as me. We see the numbers and we know that's not true. So, I mean, if you came here because of the Delosaurus, I hope that your personality isn't so one-dimensional that you'll just storm away and never come back if I don't tinker with the same computer literally every single video over and over and over again, because I think you have some things you need to look at in the mirror. You need to look in the mirror at if that's the way it is. I mean, look, technology, even as we know it, is changing. Sorry if you feel old because you were into PCs and now smartphones insult you with everything that they can do. Sorry. Or maybe I shouldn't apologize for that. Look, the smartphones of today have quad-core processors, 4 gigs of RAM, and you can buy a terabyte SD card. Terabyte micro SD card. You used to have to get hard drives for that level of capacity. Smartphones are computers, period. You can buy keyboards and mice for them. You can cast them to a big screen like this TV that's been lighting me for all my streams. Look, people, wake up. Computers are not the world anymore. They never were. In the heydays of the PC era for gaming, consoles were a thing. PDAs were a thing. Texas Instruments calculators were a thing. I'm one of those nerds that programmed a game onto a TI calculator when I was growing up because the language was similar to BASIC. Wake up, people. If you want every YouTuber that you're subscribed to do nothing but tinker with computers, you want an incredibly niche channel, which I would say isn't a real tech channel anymore, because you're pretending that new things don't exist. And what is technology? Technology is embracing new things that are coming into existence and finding the best ways to use them. It's not just about computers anymore. There's an entire scene on YouTube where people do nothing but tinker with computers over and over again. And where have those channels gotten in the past 5 years? See what I mean? And I'm not talking channels that do commercial reviews like Paul's Hardware or something. I'm not even talking Jay's 2 cents. I'm talking tech YouTubers that literally just tinker with computers every single video ad nauseum. Where are they at? They are more and more niche. They're more and more niche. Niche, whatever it is. They are more and more specialized because computers are kind of, well, the thing is computers have had to change because of what's been going on around computers these days. You look at a so-called computer in a business environment these days. I guarantee some of you folks out there, if you're even involved in corporate America, some of you people who have an attitude with me because I do something besides tinker with the Delosaurus all the time, some of you people obviously don't work in corporate America, where you would say to some of these computers that are being deployed these days, that's not a computer, that's an appliance. I'm talking net tops. Just recently, the 9-to-5ers have decided to switch over to Lenovo, so I'm seeing more appliance. Whatever, man. Indigestion from this? Yeah, so just recently, I've started to see more of the. Just recently, I've started to see more net tops as well as even laptops are changing. The one I got is a decent mid-size. The Lenovo I picked up is a decent mid-size laptop, but there are laptops that are 2-in-1 tablets these days. And there are laptops that are like little 13-inch, the successor to netbooks, which fill the little niche of laptop being used as a tablet or in an environment where it's being used like a tablet by someone that's used to using tablets who wants it to be portable and carried around more. I know that Rubbish, my netbook, has been used as a service laptop before, sometimes as a mobile internet connection. So by bridging the wireless to, the Ethernet on the thing, hook something up when I didn't have the power line stuff that I have over in the project area. No, folks, if you hate the fact that I do anything besides tinker with computers, I'm telling you right now, and I'll tell you as many times as I need to until you're gone, because that's the end game of all of this, is you leaving. I will just tell you right now, I will do nothing but disappoint you for the rest of the time that you're subscribed to this channel. I am not a one-trick pony. I have never been a one-trick pony. And when I started this channel, I wasn't even tinkering with computers all the time. I was talking about stuff that would nowadays fall under the multimedia meta. I was talking about presentations and other stuff, audiovisual stuff, playing around with cameras even. So I don't know how many times I'm going to have to, beat on this drum, so to speak. But the behavior that I see with the views and the behavior that I see with the comments, the behaviors that I see with views, comments, engagement, and the likes and stuff tells me that there's still roving bands of people on YouTube that are looking for this, and you're not going to find it here. And if you get upset and like that, whoever that person is that's randomly disliking every video I do that's not a tech video when they get around to it, I mean, everybody who does that, I mean, you got to look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself if you're even a tech fan. Technology is about new stuff. Looks like YouTube's databases aren't working again. Look, you gotta look at, oh, look, they stopped by here. Well, I'm going to like my own stream now. I'm going to like my own stream. So, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to like my own stream now. We'll just do that. Look, folks, grow up. All right. Just grow up. Because you know what? I've had to do it. I've had to grow up as well. See, yeah, it hasn't affected the sub count yet. We'll see what that does tomorrow. Grow up, ladies and gentlemen. The computer age, let's face it. Computers have evolved into something else depending on the user. Now, there's a lot of computers out there that are basically appliances. The most you can do is swap an SSD and some RAM, picking up where laptops left off. But the truth of the matter is, especially now that computers have been cheap enough before all the part shortages happened, computers have been cheap enough that you can actually have appliance-style computers, and it's not your main system, so you don't care. That's the thing. It's one of the reasons that's what the laptop is for me. The new laptop is an appliance as far as I'm concerned. I don't care that I can barely upgrade it. But even among old desktops and stuff, or even just building a computer to use as for an appliance type purpose. I mean, HTPCs were a thing once upon a time. But yeah, HTPCs, those were a thing once upon a time. Well, there's a lot more besides that. Now that we have a situation where you can, unless there's something artificial like Windows 11 forcing your computers to be obsolete, and even then, put Linux on it. Computers nowadays can be all shapes and sizes, and they can, some of them, you can have one that just serves an appliance-like role for you. It doesn't have to be your main system. But there's people out there that can't get their heads out of the mindset that I had in college. And for years, while I built my own systems and I had one main system doing all the work. You know, I mean, the whole concept of your computer, it's obsolete these days. You're probably going to end up building computers for, even if you build your own systems, you're probably going to end up building computers these days for utilitarian purposes. You'll have something in mind with a system when you build it. I mean, I could do that right now. I mean, I am dyed in the wool, came of age with a one-size-fits-all desktop tower, and you put all your engineering and all of your creativity into that machine, and it would be your one-size-fits-all computer for everything. It's not as important of a thing anymore. Not in this day and age where you might think about, for example, reducing the overhead by having a special streaming PC that's low power and just takes input from a graphics from a capture box. And you reroute your video signal so that you can basically record your PC like a console. Well, that means now your main system is a gaming system, primarily. So you've applianced-ized, if that's even a word we want to use, your main computer. And how about, say, building a computer that's incredibly low power, so that way you can put a bunch of drives in it, have that be the majority of its power draw when they're on, and use it for online storage. So, look, I'm as dyed-in-the-wool a PC builder as anybody else, but the day and age, whatever, the day and age where you're building a computer and it's your one-size-fits-all jack-of-trades main system, it's over. I mean, I'll have one, but I'm not going to be delusional enough to think that something like Monolith is the only system I'm going to have. So, it's not the way things work these days. But I'll never forget, though, there was one day I went into an insurance office, and a local PC builder had inked a deal to supply the computers for them, and here's a bunch of people processing insurance claims on gaming towers. I'm like, what a waste of desk space. You're running Excel! You're running Excel and, you know, software that processes insurance claims. You don't need a graphics card. Get some integrated graphics in that and call it a day. Unless the insurance folks are having LAN parties or something after hours. But yeah, folks. Look, we're all getting old here in some way, shape, or form. If your head is stuck in tinker with computers all the damn time, this channel's not for you. And I don't even think tech is for you. I think you're looking for some cross between something niche and something nostalgic. Now, I know V. Westlife does some of that with his old stereo systems and whatnot, some of the tinkering he does. But those of you people they probably all stormed away by now, but those of you people that have been watching for years and you thought I was one of those channels, I've always been curious about new things. Been curious about trying new things. When streamable internet became a thing in my neck of the woods without costing an arm and a leg, I got curious about live streaming. And so some of you people actually, if any of them even care, some of the people that were angry at this channel in 2020 when I was sending 2-minute Twitch clips over here just to kick the tires on streaming, and now you stormed away, you're never going to watch again. Well, doesn't that suck? That you're that prejudiced against somebody who's curious about a new toy. Like, what? Hey, just come on now. But yeah. Technology is all kinds of things. Even just technology is all kinds of things. Multimedia is even more things. So, a guy that's been toying around on YouTube for 15 plus years under the name MultimediaJay, should be pretty obvious what the channel's about. And it's not as niche as... Well, I'll just say this. Those of you folks that are upset with me because I do anything at all besides tinker with computers, and we'll say this to the people that are gone too, in case the algorithm ever re-recommends any of my videos to them and they just watch for whatever reason. Oftentimes, one of the things you got to remember when dealing with people is that people are not going to be the way that you want them to be. They're just going to be the way they are. There's going to be a difference between the version of them that you imagine in your head, and you're like, I wish they were like that, and the way they actually are in real life. You got that? Yeah, because the sooner that you folks understand this, the sooner you people understand this, the less stressed you're going to be when people do stuff. You can be like, why are they doing that? Like if I did a cooking video or something, because I could have a lot of fun making cooking videos on this channel, because I wouldn't pretend to be any good at cooking. I'd be like, hopeless bachelor tries to cook, or something like that. And I come across as like the crazy uncle trying to cook something in the kitchen without having the smoke detectors going off half the night. I mean, that's something I could actually do. And so are you folks going to get offended by that because I'm not tinkering with a Dell machine for the umpteenth time? So this is the thing, So where are we going to go with all of this? Why have I been preaching about this whole thing of giving people a chance when they have more than one interest? The reason why is because, well, look what I've got going on right now. The YouTube channel is a thing. The Twitch channel, been trying to find something to do with it. If Twitch can get their technical house in order, I'd like to just do gameplay on there and maybe an occasional non-gaming thing from time to time. There's nothing about Twitch. I'll say this for everybody there. I did get Twitch affiliate, so if someone wanted to support my channel via Twitch Prime, they have that option now. But other than that utilitarian thing and Amazon watch parties, there's not a lot that excites me about Twitch. So the folks that were upset about me being on Twitch last year, I don't think you were upset at me being on Twitch as much as you were upset with me streaming at all. And of course, YouTube got live control room. YouTube has upgraded a few things with live control room. So the thing I need to do with this stuff is figure out what to use it for. It's a cool thing. Now, if you follow Ryan Wyatt on Twitter, YouTube's been not just trying to get folks like Tim the Tatman and whatnot to switch platforms. They've also been working on the product that they're switching to. There's new features being announced and there's progress being made on stuff we already knew about. I imagine there'll be a lot of people getting excited if they ever come up with something like gifted memberships, which how hard can it be for YouTube to come up with something like gifted memberships? Speaking of which, I've already started, of course, I did the thing with the laptop last time, but either soon or after the next tech project I want to start, which I've had sitting around for way too long. I got plenty. See, that's the thing. I got so many computers to tinker with. People might think this will be a computer tinkering channel, but it's just, getting those done with, making videos about all of that. So it's just the sort of thing where I could look like a computer channel, but I don't want people to think, I don't want people to think I'm abandoning them when I go to do something else, because they've only known what I do with the computer stuff. So when I stream a game or something like that, I don't want people to get angry, because unfortunately we have this popular idea on YouTube that all channels should be one-trick ponies. Like if you're going to a playlist on Netflix or something, but that's not a channel, that's a playlist. So if I'm going to watch, for example, if I'm going to binge watch episodes of Lost somewhere on whatever streaming service hosts them these days, or Survivor on Paramount Plus, because Paramount and CBS, cha-ching, I was joking about watching all 20 seasons of Survivor, binge watching, stuff like that. I also have the DVDs of Joe Schmo, as you can see. I saw the show on Spike TV many years ago. It was a parody of reality shows by making fun of them, by making a reality show that wasn't real. Got to get some of these DVDs off the desk. Some of them are brand new Blu-rays, like James Bond movies and stuff that I haven't watched yet. But I guess, because I'm saying in this discussion that I'm not going to be a streamer, The big thing, and we talked earlier about the difference between YouTube and Twitch. With Twitch, well, this one thought at a time here. Yeah, so I actually want to get around to watching all of this. Since I'm not going to say that I'm any kind of streamer or anything, I could always just stop doing this, work on videos, or watch movies or something along those lines. Way more freedom when you do multiple things. I just wonder how long it's going to take YouTube to alter the psyche, so to speak, of the streaming world, where people don't watch your other stuff if you don't stream, which is some of the baggage of Twitch, by the way. It's the culture that's been built up. Streaming first, videos second, and that needs to go away. And Ryan over on Twitter actually posted something really cool talking exactly along those lines. That within the context of gaming creators, because he's in charge of YouTube gaming, but I can tell you, doing tech stuff, I could do that too. So, no. But the thing is, getting past the whole, what do you stream? What do you make videos for? What do you do? And some of it takes experience in order to get there. Like feeling like after I stream about a discussion of some sort, like I'm like, is that really worth it as a stream, or should I have just made a video instead? Shouldn't be, second guessing some of this stuff. But future of content creation is omni-channel. And keep an eye on Facebook. I was talking earlier about how Facebook has a branding problem because they've been called out yet again for the COVID disinformation that's going around. But the problem with Facebook being name dropped so many times regarding COVID disinformation is that's not the only thing that Facebook has been negatively associated with. You also have things like Facebook depression, where the people that you friend on Facebook give you a highlights reel of only the best moments of their life, and you think their lives are better than yours. There's also a lot of other issues going on with over the years with privacy. Found an article detailing the numerous times that Facebook has had problems with privacy, and I remember vividly the great cell phone leak of the early 2010s where people were getting robocalls and prank calls because Facebook accidentally leaked people's mobile phone numbers. And I've seen multiple new privacy-related features on Facebook get released over the years, defaulting to the lowest levels. I've actually very seriously, especially lately, I don't know, though, because of the bad reputation Facebook is building for itself right now with the disinformation problems. But I've thought about very seriously ending my personal involvement on Facebook and then just having, maybe even shut down the channel, clear the friends list and all that other stuff, and then have a sock puppet account that manages a brand account so I don't have to worry about privacy or anything, because Facebook for me right now isn't doing anything good. It's only doing stuff that's bad. Facebook, I mean, I can get news locally on Facebook, but I can get news locally from regular websites as well. I can bring back some RSS or have a drop-down menu or something. Or, I remember we used to have like a newspaper as my homepage in college. So news, not hard to get. It's even on apps on phones. I just do everything on my phone these days. I don't need a computer for this. But Facebook mostly reminds me there's very crazy people in my neck of the woods who hate the COVID vaccine. It reminds me that the folks the cousins I have in far distant parts of the country are probably people I wouldn't associate with if I wasn't related to them. And Facebook kind of reminds me that people tend to share way too much stuff about themselves on social media and don't realize how they come across to others. I mean, it's just, Facebook has just been nothing but bad stuff for me for so long. It's LinkedIn, too, by the way, on the professional side of things. So, but Facebook has some promise if they can get past their systemic baggage of the old e-shrine, must always have your real name, things along those lines. Imagine Facebook if they split up and they split the old Facebook of the 2010s with, your family connections and your updates and your posts and stuff and sharing a few things here and there with something new that you could do omni, have a page, run it off of Facebook technology. Have a page, post images, text updates, make videos, stream, and allow the use of usernames so there wouldn't be a privacy issue. YouTube's moving in that direction with what they're doing with the community tab, but Facebook's version of the non-video stuff is way more mature. So Facebook, I think, is sitting on some potential right now because of the baggage of their platform going all the way back to 2005 and originally being a MySpace competitor in a time when social media was very, very different. It wasn't something where you'd want to have any parasocial stuff. You'd want to friend your friends and friend some people in your family and post stupid stuff from time to time. And like, I have a page just like everybody else. Yay! You know? Whoa. Hillbillies are working on the truck. Don't know if any of that's making it through into the microphone, but they're revving that sucker. It's one of the reasons why I don't stream this early anymore. Yep. In a hick town. Yeah, there's some guys next door that have been banging away at a pickup truck they're trying to get working. I think they succeeded. Yeah, you can tell I'm out in the woods. Well, yeah, so Facebook, I think, is sitting on some real serious potential. I think Facebook is, not only should they be broken up, but they should actually break themselves up Netflix style. Turn the Facebook we know into something akin to DVD.com, a legacy service that people can still use, but have a media focus on the new stuff they're building for Facebook gaming. Combine Facebook gaming and Facebook Live, and then add in some type of pseudonym-friendly Facebook functionality. Have a page with updates and pictures, and have an omni-channel media thing for people that want to establish online personas like this. No. They already have something. I mean, they copy YouTube on so many things. Facebook Watch, Facebook Live, Facebook Gaming, a little bit of Twitch copying in there too. They even have an audio library like we showed last time. So I think Facebook really, structurally, that's what's holding them back, is the baggage from the old way of doing things. Split that, and that changes. So yeah, they need to split themselves up before regulators do it. I know there's a lot of name dropping in Washington because of COVID disinformation. There will be a lot of more Facebook name dropping later. I guarantee you, if they don't change soon. So I've very seriously thought about shutting down my personal involvement on Facebook, which has been a thing since 2005, before this YouTube channel even exists. Matter of fact, buried within the dark corners of my email is the letter I got, the email I got when I joined the Facebook in 2005, after one of my college buddies sent me a link because it was this online college yearbook. So, yeah, the Facebook. And Facebook kind of sort of has been the thing that's kind of been there, and what you do on it has kind of changed over the years. So, I mean, there have been satire skits about Facebook just like there were about MySpace too, but the development of what's going on Facebook Gaming, Facebook Live, and everything else just points to a Netflix-style split, because continuing to have both services under the same umbrella is just too clunky and awkward. And of course, you got the regulators to be concerned about. But I've very seriously thought about getting involved on Facebook with streaming and videos, just to see how it is versus YouTube. I understand the technology there isn't as polished, so you get more false positives like algorithms taking down your stream or something because they think you're playing copyrighted music or something weird like that. So there's been some weird stuff that I've heard about on Facebook, but Facebook is obviously serious about what it is that they do. But right now, it's a privacy risk because of all the real names and stuff. Plus, what if you go to post as, under your content creation account, and you forget to flip over and you accidentally post on your personal account because you're a little too excited to respond to someone's post. You don't check what you're logged in as first. So it's just one of those things. Plus, I mean, if I had people in chat in there with their real names, would they want to chat as much? I've seen some Facebook streams with active chats, but I wonder how many of those people know about online privacy and some of the pitfalls of social media. So it's a systemic thing. Facebook needs to fix that. But I'd be open to, comparing Team Red versus Team Blue and establishing a Facebook presence for things. They have everything over there that I can use to bring the videos over. So the problem I would run into is there's a lot of people that steal content and put it on Facebook. So don't want to get DMCA'd on my own stuff by somebody that would try to pull that stunt on my own videos. But yeah, I mean, it's just the sort of thing I've been thinking about. In terms of the other platforms, the Twitch, game streaming, YouTube, the main focus of everything. The blog, as you saw with the discussion about the Gabby Petito situation, which I've kept mostly on the blog, because I'm mostly referencing other people's stuff with that, so I want to be able to embed it. That's the strengths of the blog and stuff. The other social media platform I need to figure out is what to do with graphics. I got ESO screenshots, which look really nice on Twitter, but they clog up the Twitter stuff too much. And I also have, of course, the graphics from when we bust out PowerPoint for the meta discussions on here. I want to have a place where the pictures can live and be directly accessible without having to sift through a Twitter feed or set up a hashtag or set up a hashtag to put in all my posts, which will knock out a lot of stuff from the last year or two. So, and then leave Twitter for updates and tweets and, people who talk on Twitter and stuff. I don't put really much, faith in Twitter to do anything right, except they did improve their video quality recently. But the big issue I have with Twitter is just people think it's something that it's not. They think it's more private than it is, and they think that it's, more friendly than it is. But Twitter, I don't know, updates just for the people on Twitter. But I don't really want to do too much else other than that. It's just there's no real decent place for pictures. Instagram, speaking of pictures, Instagram didn't work out for the graphics that I make. It is so phone specific that I might as well turn my Instagram into something like taking pictures while working on computers. That's the extent of it. Like maybe if I hit a big moment or something, do an Instagram photo. And I've seen some streamers do that. Like, hey, chat, this was a fun part of the stream. Let's take an Instagram selfie. Do stuff like that. TikTok, by the way, I've seen false positive algorithm bans on there. People getting like Fluffy Monkey and whatnot getting banned from TikTok for algorithmic reasons. So I think my involvement on TikTok is going to respect the TikTok culture. I've seen people who make YouTube videos go over to TikTok and try and turn it into a YouTube channel with shorter videos. Not going to do that. I'm probably going to make use of, I'm sending clips over there and random funny moments and whatnot. But I think if I wanted to make serious stuff that's TikTok specific, I would respect the culture. Just like how I keep saying that all these Twitch streamers coming over to YouTube should respect YouTube's culture instead of trying to treat YouTube like Red Twitch or something like that. So, anyways, the only good news as we talk about how things have been in the last year or so and jump on soapboxes here and there, the good news is that I have plenty of things to do. I'm not going to be bored anytime soon with any of this. So it's just a matter of finding what to do with what. Just imagine, me being a dumb little fat guy, sort of am, standing with an ice pick, surrounded by a bunch of gigantic glaciers, and I have to get through the ice somehow. So I start chopping away. Not like this for chopping. Don't flop the hand too much. It looks like something else. Yeah, so I start chopping away, right? How do you get through? It'll take a while to get through the ice, but at least I'm doing something. Or, in the army where you scrub the floor with a toothbrush. Is that even a thing? I've seen it in a movie or two. It's been satirized a couple of times, but we'll just go with the ice pick thing for now. But yeah, I have things to chop away. I have things to do. Plenty of things to do. Not going to be bored anytime soon. Yeah, what more can you ask for, right? And the fun part is, there's signs that the Delta wave of the pandemic is probably going to be the last big one because there's so many people that have been infected that a lot of people are either vaccinated or will have antibodies from previous infections soon. So we're probably going to see things quiet down, and then it'll take another big strain to really fire things up again once this all winds down. The question is, how long does it take for Delta to do its thing with whoever is going to snub the vaccine until they come down with it? I can tell you right now, the loss of my cousin was a real punch in the gut. He was a very friendly guy. He's into gaming. I think out of most of my cousins, he was one of the few people that really understood me the most. We even played some online games together, like Pirates of the Burning Sea. That's actually a game I might want to stream on Twitch at some point, just for fun, and in memory of the guy. But I don't want to see any more stories like my cousin. My cousin was not an anti-vaxxer. He was just surrounded by a culture that poo-pooed the vaccine. He was too vaccine hesitant as a result of that. I have another cousin, not from that part of the country, who is the reason why I'm not a gung-ho about natural immunity, because she's had it twice. She got infected by the original strain. It knocked her flat on her back for months. She had pneumonia even after the fact. She was left prone to it by the impact of the virus because she worked in healthcare and worked around COVID patients. Then she got reinfected when UK Alpha was going around. So some I'd like to toss in with regards to pandemic discussions, which I'm sure the Rand Paul folks of the world and whatnot are going to bring up. But just ask yourself a very simple question about being vaccinated versus natural immunity, ask yourself this very simple question. If something comes up that evades the protection of whatever it is you already have, how do you get yourself up to date? With the vaccines, no doubt Pfizer, Moderna, Janssen, and the rest of the companies involved worldwide will jump all over making some kind of booster to address the new variant that comes out. So you just another shot and another booster and yay. But if you're doing everything by getting infected, you just have to hope that the next variant coming out doesn't clobber you. So you don't want a situation where you did okay in variant 1 and 2, and then variant 3 knocked you flat on your back and sent you to the hospital, or worse. It's just a simple matter of practicality. You have to risk it if you are going to get infected every single time versus being able to be proactive with new vaccines that come out. So just something like that. I don't want to see another case like what happened to my cousin. My cousin was a friendly guy. He had a few things going on health-wise, but for the most part, he was all friendly on Facebook and stuff. From the more right-wing part of the family, of course. So you talk about politics and, Donald Trump and things along those lines. But he wasn't angry about the vaccines. Matter of fact, he seemed kind of sad he didn't have one when he got infected. So I screenshotted those posts, by the way, in case his widow tries to scrub his account. But I know what really happened with him. He was too hesitant for too long. Spent the last month and a half of his life or so hooked up to machines. And the thing is, I have some cousins that are still hesitant even after all that happened. How do you watch someone spend the last month and a half of his life hooked up to machines and not want to not go down the same path that he did? So, on October 1st, I'm basically going to stop talking to the remaining vaccine hesitant in the family. Now, if I find out that they got their shots, I'll be like, welcome. What team did you join? So, because, the jockeying between folks who got Pfizer and folks who got Moderna, and that's going to be more interesting when they're all fully FDA approved. They all have brand names. We'll be talking Comirnaty versus Spikevax, versus whatever the J&J gets named. Because with full approval, you can brand it and stuff like that. So, it'll be interesting when that happens. But look, bottom line is, with the pandemic, you basically choose your friends wisely. Like I said before, it's one of the most important applications of this idea that was a thing when I was growing up. You don't want to have bad friends that get you in trouble. Well, that means even more in this day and age. All right. So here's what's up with the channel then. We're going to proceed with videos, streams, and stuff from streams. Might actually clean up the channel page a little more and only have types of stuff on there instead of playlists. Just have by series, instead of having playlists for everything, like when the series were last updated or something like that. I already have that, like catch up on the latest. I think the design of the channel is good enough as it is. I did remove the channels I liked feature though, because it was just taking up a spot. And YouTube hasn't found a way to have channels I like exist without taking up space on the channel page. If there is something across the top that says channels, if I could have something there and not have to give up a playlist slot, I would love to see that. But there's plenty of UI things that YouTube can improve. As it stands right now, it's about 8 o'clock at the Geek House. I think it's about time I played catch up on all the things that have been sitting around that I've been wanting to make videos about. So yeah, YouTube will be my primary focus, but there will be other things going on, and there'll be other videos and streams going on this channel. And I will say, though, for those wondering about subscriber-only mode when I'm streaming, that's an anti-spam thing. So the 10-minute minimum to start chatting after you sub to the channel, that's something that it's free, by the way. That's just the sort of thing that robots won't do. Or fly-by-nights and things along those lines. So there's I've had a lot of spam problems, even outside of the hate bot thing that Twitch is having. I've had a lot of spam problems recently with stuff on stream and whatnot, or just people lurking all the time and never saying anything. So that's one of the reasons why I have it on sub-only mode. There'll be something similar on Twitch, although I do have my auto mod turned up all the way over there. And I've had it that way for a while, so I don't know if I'd even get hate rated if someone did do something like that. But randos usually are still blending in with the people that are bad actors that show up in your chat and don't really care about you. They just want to start stuff. And that's been my experience on both YouTube and Twitch, even before the hate bot problem even was a thing. The people that have tried to hijack the chat and kind of, make me stop the stream and address them are usually randos who weren't even following or subbing. So it's a sort of thing where it's just a thing where you just to keep it organized and things like that. Plus, it gives people a reason to subscribe. But I think the biggest reason to subscribe would be if I got back to the stuff that's been sitting around way too long, including computer parts that are new in the box. So we'll get this converted over. We'll get this converted over to for its after-the-fact iteration and things like that, and that's where we stand on things. So the back injury in January, which has been affecting the whole year since then because worker comp processes are very long and drawn out, has resulted in more medical appointments in 2021 than ever before, which had to be outside of work hours, so it cut into my free time. So that's why things are the way they are, with the channel having made far less progress this year than I would have liked it to. But that just means I'm not going to be bored anytime soon. Just got to get through all the stuff that's been sitting around and get to where I want to get to. Till next time, this is MultimediaJay signing off. Thanks for stopping by.